Good afternoon, everyone. How are we? Welcome to the live stream. I hope you're all well. Hope you're having a good trading week. As always, guys, we've got lots of trades to look at. I'm still currently in 5 trades. Last time we met, I was in 6, but we've taken some profit with the US dollar strength that we've seen. So we're going to look at those and how I've managed them. So we've been trading a lot of Canadian dollar strength this week and this month, really. So I'm going to show you how I've managed my Canadian dollar trades. We're also going to look at US dollar. I still really like some US dollar trades as well. So we'll take a look at those. What else are we going to do? We're going to have a quick look at the news, right? Because we do have some important US data coming out, right? So if we are looking at any US dollar pairs, I might wait for this to come out first of all, right? We have some initial jobless claims and Philly Fed manufacturing. We've also got some crude oil later as well. Also, guys, what we're going to do, of course, we're going to take as many of your questions as possible about trading. So you can literally ask me anything you like, guys, right? I do not bite. You can ask me whatever you like about trading. Don't be shy. There's no such thing as a silly question, right? And if you do ask a silly question, we'll really show you up in front of. No, I'm only joking. There's no such thing as a silly question, guys. All right. So we're also streaming on TikTok. So hello, TikTok people as well. What else was I going to say? Yeah, guys, if I look like I have very red eyes, I haven't been, smoking anything. It's I went swimming earlier, and I think the chlorine, I think they overdone it on the chlorine. And my eyes are just so red. So, there you go, guys. That is what I wanted to share with you. Was there anything else I wanted to share with you before we got started? We won the pub quiz on Tuesday night. I wanted to share that with you. And that's about it, guys. Yeah, so, all right, let's get stuck in. I can see we've got a few people turning up, so let's say hi to a few people. Hi, Jeremy. Hi, Emperor Nero. And Mayo. Hi, Luigi. Hi, Fomaleko. Hi, Fapello. Sorry. Hi, Mark. How are you? Haven't seen you for a while. Hope you are all well, guys. So let's start with this Canadian dollar strength that we're seeing in the markets right now. I'm in 3 Canadian dollar pairs, right? Pound Canadian dollar is what I am in. And as you can see, this is coming down nicely, guys, right? And how I've managed this is basically once price come down to here, guys, I took some profit. Right, so price came down to here this morning. We could see it was being good support. I closed 50% of my trade and then moved my stop loss from up here to down here. So basically, guys, I am in a risk-free position. All right, I've already taken some profit. Worst case scenario, and a lot would have to go wrong. If price comes shooting up here, I would still make a little bit of profit. Right, so I've basically got 50% running, guys, and I'm going to look to let that run potentially down to this 1.84 thousand level, even if not further down to this 18350. So there's nothing better than being in this position with a trade, right? You've taken, sorry guys, there's some flies I must smell. Anyway, so there's nothing better than being in this position, right? You've taken some profit off, you've reduced your stop loss, and it's basically risk-free. So pound Canadian dollar, that's how I manage that trade. New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar, it's the same scenario, right? This is the H4, okay? And as you can see, we was obeying this trend line, right? We kept hitting this trend line and then bang. We've broken that trend line. And basically, guys, I've taken some profit here. Here I closed 60%. and I'm just going to let 40% run. And I'll probably look to try and take it back down to these lows as well, guys, right? And again, reduced my stop loss. I haven't had an opportunity to re-enter this trade. I would add to this position, but it just hasn't retraced enough. If it does retrace a little bit more, I may well add to this position with a view to doing that as well. And then the last one was Euro Canadian dollar. And I will be managing this very soon, right? So if this H4 candle finishes like this, right? So this is H4. Obviously, guys, you know, the daily and the weekly are giving me my direction, and I can sell Euro Canadian dollar, right? Mustn't lose sight of that. I'm always trading the higher time frame direction, but generally speaking, entering on the H4. So if this H4 candle finishes here like this, I am going to heavily reduce my stop loss, you know, to above all these highs in here, and I will start selling. If we get a little bit of a retrace, potentially back to here, I'm going to add to this position with a view to coming all the way back down to these lows. But yeah, you know, Canadian dollar is finally, you know, we're seeing some strength, right? I mean, just look at that. We've been in this funk for a few days now. And to be honest, guys, you know, pound Canadian dollar especially has been not killing me, but, you know, the swap fees haven't been positive. So, you know, you need to be aware of that. But ultimately, you know, you've got to stick with your trade, right? Unless something tells you to get out. And nothing is with these Canadian dollar pairs. If anything, they're telling me to add to these positions, add to this Canadian dollar strength. So yeah, that's where we are with all the Canadian dollar pairs. And let me just show you that, guys, right? Again, if you go to the Discord, right, you can see this is the VI. You know, first of all, guys, please come join our free Discord. It's free, right? Come join it. We've got people sharing knowledge, trades, ideas. So yeah, come join it, guys. But also you can have the VIP, and the VIP, you get access to every single one of my trades, right? So you can see here, pound US dollar, we took some profit earlier this week, New Zealand CAD, pound CAD, you can see exactly how I've been managing these trades. If I scroll up a little bit, yeah, you can see I'm still in Aussie dollar yen sells, and I'm still in euro pound sells as well, right? If we just take a quick look at those, euro pound, right? You know, I want to start seeing sellers come into this market right now. If we go to the day chart, because basically I've entered on a daily resistance level, right? You can see resistance, resistance, resistance. You know, will it continue to prove to be good resistance? We shall see. If it doesn't, we've had a daily structure break, and I will look to get out of this as soon as I can. If we get a daily candle break these highs. Okay. You know, I may not be able to get out of this early. You know, the daily candle might end up looking like this, right? Then I'm just stopped out. But if it looks, you know, let's say the daily candle finishes like this, right? And then we get a bit of a pullback, I'll just be looking to close this trade in here somewhere, right? If possible. But right, you know, that's worst case scenario. But you know, we could get a daily candle that looks like this, right? And obviously that's what I want for this trade. So with H4, you know, I want to start to see sellers come into this market. And as you can imagine, guys, there's going to be a lot of liquidity in here. You know, when we talk about stop loss hunting, you can't help but think there's going to be a lot of stop losses in there, which is why, right, I try to put my stop loss as far away out of the way as possible, right? Mine's right up here. So you might see, you know, a lot of orders in here, and you might end up getting, as a result of that, a large wick rejection on the H4. All right, we shall see. But, you know, if ever I've seen a liquidity spot, it's there. Okay, so yeah, we'll keep our eye out for euro pound, but still in this trade. What else did I want to show you? Yeah, I also wanted to look at Aussie dollar yen. I'm still in Aussie dollar yen. And what I like about this, guys, right, is we're in a downtrend. I've give this a humongous stop loss, right? I started getting in at this level, but gave it a huge stop loss because we've just literally had a fresh structure break, right? If we just follow structure, bang, we broke those lows. Right now, you know, price could react here, price could react here, here. Okay, so it could react anywhere, but there is this gray resistance level, right? So that I wanted to be well out of the way of that with regards to my stop loss. Also, if we drop down to the H4, you will see we're at a really nice fib level. So I remember somebody the other week was talking to me, I was talking to them about fibs. And if we just pull up a fib retracement right there down to the low, you can see we're in the golden zone of fib retracement, right? This 0.5 level to this 0.618 is a really nice area to catch trades, right? And, you know, the market is very much reacting at that level, right? Bearish candle. If this continues to be bearish, you know, we're going to see a very bearish daily candle, something like that. So that goes for a lot of yen pairs, right? I'm liking the yen pairs. I'm seeing this yen strength come in literally now, right? We've got the US opening. Let's see if this yen strength continues. I mean, because from a H4 point of view, right, it might not. We're in this H4 uptrend. We're now at an area of support. We could quite easily see price bounce off this level. But if I go back to the daily chart and I start seeing a daily candle that finishes like this, right? Obviously, we've still got, you know, the rest of the day for this candle to finish forming. But if I see a candle like this, I am very much, I'm already in Aussie dollar yen sales, but I'm very much up for yen strength, right? If you look at any of them, guys, right? If we look at CAD yen, yeah, we're getting a nice pullback. You know, this is our smart river, which is part of our price action indicator. If we start seeing bearish candles in here, we're clearly in a downtrend. I know this is quite a, you know, extreme moves, but we're in a downtrend. We haven't broken these highs and we're getting lower lows, right? So that could be a trade as well. So yeah, keep an eye out for yen strength. If it remains, I think we've got some good trades for tomorrow. What else did I want to show you? Let's take a few of your questions, actually. Yeah, I also want to show you US dollar, but let's take a few of your questions, guys, because usually you're asking about US dollar pairs anyway. Before I do, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, smash the notification button, and please smash the like button. Also, guys, please check above my head. Please go check out the website if you want access to all of our premium trading education. I'm sure there's something in there that will help you. Please come join our free Discord channel. If you want to speak to like-minded traders, share knowledge, get my trade ideas every day, plus much, much more, please come join the free Discord. And finally, guys, if you sign up with Pepperstone, our preferred broker, using our link, we will give you access to the VIP and we'll give you a Trading View Essential subscription. No brainer, come join it. Right, let's have a look at a few questions then. Hi, Leonardo, how are you? We got a question here. Tom, what confirmation do you look out for to jump on a trade? So okay, let's discuss this. So what I do is, my job is to find reasons to enter a trade, right? If you want to put my job definition, right? That's my job, right? I trade for a living. My job definition is to find reasons to enter a trade. If I have enough reasons to sell and there aren't too many opposing reasons, I'll sell. If there's lots of reasons to buy, I'll buy. And if there's not enough confirmation of either, I'll stay out of the market. And that's how binary I will keep it. Okay. So, if we think of a trade that I took the other day, Aussie dollar yen, right? Let's just have a look at this trade. So if I take away the fibs now, right? Now, as you can see, I started entering in here. So let's go back to my entry, right? Let's go to the H4 and then let's use the back to the future button. Where is it? Here it is. Right, I basically started entering in here. Right, so why did I start entering in here? So we start with the daily chart, right? And this daily candle hadn't finished forming yet. Okay, so I started entering because of these candles, right? So let's just look at all of the reasons for why I took this trade, right? So first of all, we were in this uptrend, as I just showed you, and then we broke that low. Only just, but the body of that candle broke the low. We are now in a downtrend, okay? We are also seeing nice, we're seeing sellers in control. Sellers, doji, sellers, sellers, right? This is not a doji because it has a larger top wick than it does a bottom wick. That is a selling candle. So at the time of my trade, sellers were in control, right? So that was the daily. And then if we go to the weekly, right, as you know, I do a top-down approach, but I start with the daily, right? We knew that we was at a key level on the weekly and we had a nice big bearish weekly candle, right? If I zoom into that area now, right, you can see, that is a big engulfing candle, bearish engulfing candlestick pattern. Again, I don't care what the name of the pattern is, it's irrelevant, but sellers are in control. And we're in this uptrend, but we knew that, all yen pairs were very overextended up here, right? Look how far we are away from our smart river, right? That is a very good indication that price is overextended. So overextended at a resistance level, big bearish candle on the weekly, daily structure break to the downside, bearish candles, right? Lots of reasons to sell. And they're all based on price action, right? Like you have, if for you to be successful at trading and to stick with a strategy, right? And have some consistency, the strategy you're trading needs to make sense to you, right? So hopefully all the reasons I've just explained, you're like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I agree, that makes sense, right? That it should, right? Because I'm just using raw facts, and these are facts, right? I'm not making these up. I'm not making, that is a bearish candle. I'm not making it up. It is a resistance level. I'm not making it up, right? These are facts. And I'm using these facts to make informed decisions, right? And that's how I think everyone should trade. Now, you will get people who trade systems like when the 9 moving average crosses the 21 moving average on the H1 chart, I buy, right? Again, if you have success with a strategy like that, fill your boots, right? You go for it. But That, and I've traded systems like that, they just simply didn't make sense to me. Why am I doing that? Why am I just trading the 9 crosses the 20 on the 1 hour chart? It didn't make sense to me. Whereas, hopefully price action and what I just explained to you with this trade makes sense, right? Now, there's still no guarantees, obviously. Christ, if there, this trade may or may not work out, right? But let's now drop down to the H4. So daily and weekly, I had my reasons to sell, but I still need more reasons to enter. And my entry was this, right? We was in a H4 downtrend, kind of like this, and then we retraced, right? What was once support becomes good resistance. So I started selling. Stops well out of the way, as I explained, right? Because it is a new daily structure break. We don't know where that next daily high is going to be. Is it going to be here? Is it going to be here? We don't know, right? So put my stop loss well out of the way. And I entered, right? I didn't wait for a bearish candle. I entered on the level. Now, if we go forward a couple of candles, we do get a bearish candle anyway, right? And I would have pretty much gotten in at the same price, right? So yeah, there you go, guys, right? Price action makes sense to me. Hopefully it resonates with you. And if you want to, really learn price action and how to read a chart, then, come join the VIP. Check out my course, come join the VIP, learn how to trade, right? Now, obviously I give you my trades when I take them, and you can copy those trades, that's up to you. But you want to really, learn how to trade, learn how to read a chart. I said this the other day, give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, teach him how to fish and he'll eat forever, right? So that is the Simply Forex motto. Admittedly, there might be a few copyright laws with that, but yeah, there you go. I'm going to have a drink. So there you go, Leonardo, I believe that is, yeah. And Leonardo's part of our Discord as well. And Mayo wants to look at US dollar yen. Okay, we'll do it that. Let's just say hello to a few people. Hi, Lee. Johnny Wadwani. Hi, Niraj. Hi. Andre. Hi. Okay, so we've got a few people wanting to look at pound US dollar, right? I've already taken some profit on that, but I am interested in selling pound US dollar, and we'll take a look at that. And am I a little bit delayed? I'm looking at myself. Am I a little bit delayed? Maybe. It's because we're streaming on TikTok as well. Anyway, and Mayo, you were first. Let's have a look at US dollar yen. So as I explained, guys, I'm seeing yen strength, right? Aussie dollar yen, Canadian dollar yen, they're looking like potentially nice setups, especially Aussie dollar yen, right? Again, let me just recap. If I get a nice bearish candle that finishes like this on the daily, I think we've got a really nice trade back down to these lows, if not further. Right now, let's see how this has affected US dollar yen, right? Similar. Now, let's do exactly what I did before. Let's have a look at the confluences, the reasons, right? And as you can see, I was in this uptrend and then bang, right? Whether you consider that the last low, that the last low, that the last low, doesn't matter, because we've broken all of them, right? And then we've had a huge retrace, and now we're pretty much back down to these lows. But we're in a downtrend. We're getting lower highs, right? Lower, whichever one you want to pick, lower lows. So we're in a downtrend. Now, do I want to start selling down here? No, I don't want to start selling into a support area and just look what happens. Price shoots up. But, right, now we're at a pretty nice level, right? If I just drag this across, So again, if we just look left, you can see it was good support, resistance, resistance, right? So this is proven to be a pretty good level. And again, if we get a nice bearish reaction here on the daily, I think sells back down to these lows are a very reasonable idea, right? Obviously, I wouldn't trade this today, though, for example, right? You've got to consider this candle hasn't finished forming, so you cannot take any of the information from it. You know, I do not want to start selling that candle, right? But maybe tomorrow, if we do get a candle form, something like this, US dollar yen would be a potential idea, right? And would also be in keeping with all the other yen pairs that I was looking at. But let's have a look at the weekly. And weekly is a little strange, right? But ultimately, we came up to a key resistance level. We did hold on to these lows, but prices come up and then we just got a massive bearish candle. Look at last week's candle, and it has broken this support. Now, the body of this candle has broken that support, but this big wick does add confusion, right? It does. You know, do we want to be selling into this big wick? So yeah, it does put a little bit of, you know, when I was talking about confluence earlier, you know, we're looking to sell, but this would be a piece of reasoning not to sell, right? This big wick, and buyers have come in here down, you know, entered the market here before. But that is such a bearish candle, right? I think we've got enough confluence to potentially come back down to these lows, right? If that daily candle's bearish enough. And if I zoom out, guys, you can see us at a really key level, right? Like Aussie dollar yen, we had a big move away, tracked all the way back up. Are we going to get an equally big move? You know, we shall see. But for me, sellers are in control, right? They're in control on the weekly, and on the daily, they're in control. I'm just not seeing anything yet over the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. There's nothing here to tell me to start selling. If we start seeing bearish candles in here, then okay, maybe we do have a trade. So that's US dollar yen. Okay, and we've got a comment here. This is an interesting one, because I do like pound US dollar sells. But Famaleko's saying, but the dollar index isn't kind of matching what I'm seeing with pound US dollar. So let's look at both of them, right? Now, pound US dollar, right, we've had a really nice trade on this, right? We took some, you know, price came down and we've taken, you can see my trade here, guys. Again, this is a trade I shared in the VIP exactly when I entered, you know, and we also discuss them on here as well. I still got so much chlorine in my eyes, I can barely see my screen. Yeah, I went swimming earlier on, and swimming is bloody hard work, isn't it? Honestly, like I used to play 90 minutes of football, no problem. I do 3 lengths of a pool, and I'm breathing like, who's someone who smokes a lot? I'm breathing like Snoop Dogg. I'm sure he breathes fine. Anyway. So yeah, 100% bearish pound US dollar, right? I was bearish from here, right? I was bearish from this candle, right? And literally got in the next day, stops above here, right? Because we're in a downtrend, lower highs. Yeah, these highs are kind of holding through here, but we're definitely getting lower lows. And also, yesterday's candle, if there was any concerns about this level holding, right, have been blown away, right? That, the body of that candle has broken these lows, right? So that is a break of a support level. And if we think about that, you know, once we break one support level, there's a strong probability that we're going to make it to the next support level, right? We might get a retrace first, but this is what we'd be looking at. So yeah, I'm very much a pound US dollar seller, and I also like New Zealand US dollar sells as well, right? There's US dollar strength that I'm seeing now. Again, if we look at the weekly, right? I mean, if the weekly finishes like that, right, we are very keen on selling back down to these lows. All right, but a big if, right? We've still got a day and a half of trading. Let's drop down to the H4 now. And as you can see, guys, my alarm was in here today. This is a fresh alarm today. This is an old one from this trade. So I wanted just to see that retrace, right, which never came, because if I started selling in here, I can, I can start, it just gives me more value, right? I can put my stop well out of the way. But the problem today is, and it was one of my trade ideas, again, if you join the free Discord, the link is in the video description. I give you a list of the trades I'm looking at. And pound US dollar sells and New Zealand dollar US dollar sells were both trades. The problem is I need a retrace. I don't want to start selling here. There's no value, right? I wanted that retrace. And the same was true with New Zealand dollar US dollar, right? Now, will we get that retrace? So as soon as New Zealand dollar US dollar broke that level, and I've been talking about this level since the weekly Forex forecast on Saturday, so please go check that out. I said as soon as that level breaks, we'll be in. But again, the problem is the daily broke it, and then it's just carried on down. You'll see my alarm. I want to pull back to this 0.6,000 psychological level. That would be a really nice level for me to start selling. Stops up here. But it may or may not happen, right? It may just come down. I don't have a trade. If it does pop back up, maybe on the back of the US dollar news that we're going to see, then yeah, I'll be looking to trade it. So yeah, definitely bullish US dollar, especially with pound US dollar and New Zealand US dollar. But now if we look at the dollar index, right? So Famaleco is saying I am neutral with regards to the dollar index, right? Now, again, with the daily, it's a tricky one, right? Because if we start here, just pick structure highs and lows. Now, we are here. And straight away, this low makes it difficult, right? It puts doubt in sellers' minds. Because if you imagine this wasn't here, right? Let's just scrape this out. I could use the Back to the Future button, but let's pretend that isn't there, right? Now, we are clearly in a downtrend, right? Potentially this, right? Dollar weakness. But now we are getting lower highs and, is that right? Yeah, lower highs and higher lows. I had to think about that. There's a lot of high and low going on in this brain. So if, so I can understand the neutrality in your thinking. Now, if we get a break of this level, right, so we get a candle like this, right, we're very much bullish dollar, right, back up to here, right? The uptrend is confirmed because we've broken this last high. Alternatively, if we get this happen and we get a break of this low, right, I am very much US dollar weakness, back down to here, if not further. So daily is tricky, right, for those reasons. If we look at the weekly now, I mean, I can drag this across, right? These last lows on the weekly have technically held, right? This candle held on to these lows, right? But weekly, we're in a downtrend, right? So there is a bit of confusion here as well. We're getting lower highs, right? Lower lows. So again, there's a bit of no man's land here, which we're seeing on the daily as well. So like I say, break this way, very much buyers. Break this way, looking at this chart, I'm less of a seller than I would be a buyer if we get that break. So if we go back to this level now, right, it's no coincidence that that was that weekly level. You know, even if we did break that, I would still be reluctant to sell into these big weekly support level and that big, basically we had a candle looking like that, right, on the weekly. So yeah, dollar is in a bit of no man's land here. We need it to make up its mind. But I would still look for pound US dollar sales should the opportunity present itself. And also bear in mind, we do have some US dollar news coming out later, guys. Right, any more questions? Let's have a look. Where are we? Let's take a look, guys. Okay, so I've kind of answered this, John. I'm very much looking at US dollar strength at the moment. Hi, Niraj. Andre, we've looked at pound US dollar. Yeah, I like it. Giovanni, hi. Good to have you here. Lee saying, I trade only one strategy that works consistently, like a coward, according to some people I know. But Paul Tudor Jones did the same, and we all know his success. Yeah, just trade a system that makes sense to you, right? I could give one strategy to Barry, right? I don't know a Barry, right? But I could give a strategy to Barry, and I could give a strategy to Peter, right? Peter will go off and make, 20% in 5 months, right? Barry will blow his account because they are different people, right? And they have different lifestyles, different personalities. Not only do you need to find a strategy that suits your personality and makes sense to you, but it also needs to fit your lifestyle, right? If you're a lorry driver, you can't be scalping the 5-minute chart. It's going to be pretty dangerous, right? You're just like driving along and just, scalping. You're going to kill hundreds of people. Don't do that, right? You get my point. It depends how much time you've got to look at the charts. It depends on your personality, so it's quite a personal thing, trading. Now, what I show you, like I say, should make sense, right? We're taking facts, we're collating data and making informed decisions. Now, any good strategy should be based upon that. It should be based upon trend and structure, support and resistance levels, candles, trading from value, multiple time frames. If it ticks enough of those boxes, chances are you've got a pretty robust strategy. Now you have to keep it simple so that you can keep repeating it, right? So yeah, very, very personal thing, trading. And I find that with my mentorship sessions, right? I trade different traders of different levels. I've got traders that have been trading for, about as long as I have. And I've also got traders that have been doing it for a year, right? Now, it really boils down all to one thing, and that's understanding them as a trader, right? And obviously getting rid of loads of shitty, bad habits. That's a bit... I'd rather work with a trader who's been trading for a year than work with a trader who's been trading for 10 years. Well, but let me explain that. So somebody who's been trading for 10 years has developed so many bad habits. A person who's trading for 1 year still a bit wet behind the ears, hasn't developed all those bad habits, and you can still, they're easier to break. I'm not saying you can't break these bad habits. You have to if you want to be a successful trader. But yeah, you know, ultimately, it's just that strategy. Get rid of your bad habits, eradicate mistakes, right? And that comes down to a lot about psychology, and find something that makes sense to you and you can repeat, right? Yeah, you know, obviously a bit more to it than that, but ultimately, very generally speaking, right, that's what we're looking at. Okay, so Neral says, earlier you used to take entries on the H1, now you take entries on the H4. What factors prompted you to choose H4? Trump and volatility, really. You know, if I trade on the H1, right, you know, stops are going to be a little bit tighter, you know, which is a good and bad thing, right? It's pros and cons. But you know, the lower the time frame, the more unreliable it is. I think we spoke about this Tuesday or some other time. But you know, every time I go down a time frame, so daily is super reliable in terms of trend and structure. Takes a lot to break it, right? Then if I go down to the H4, trend and structure and support and resistance levels are slightly less reliable. If I go down to the H1, they become even more unreliable. If I go down to the M15, they're not really worth the paper they're written on, right? If you go down to the 5 minute, forget it. You know, trend and structure doesn't really matter. You know, your chances are you're trading a very mechanical scalping strategy, right? You cannot rely on, you know, the 5 minute trend, right? I know people say, oh yeah, I trade the 1 minute trend. I'm like, I've got to stop talking to you, I'm afraid. I think I did actually say that once. So yeah, it's all about reliability. Okay, so the higher the time frame, the more reliable it is. The more you can, you know, put your confidence in it. When things are volatile, you know, ever since Trump's come in, you know, he has changed the markets, right? He has made them more volatile, and sometimes, you know, perhaps stop losses, which I didn't think were that tight, are getting taken out, and then prices whipping back in your direction just because Trump opened his mouth, you know, when the New York opened, right? So trading the higher time frames as well allows you to have, you know, larger stop losses. You can take a bit more heat, which is really what you need to do when things are volatile. You know, you can't have these really tight stops in volatile markets, right? So yeah, hope that helps, Niraj. Delicio fritters, is that delicious chips? New Zealand US dollar, we've looked at that. We're looking for sales. Same for Max on New Zealand dollar, US dollar, also looking for sales. Okay. Yes. Yeah, and Dan Laguna is currently receiving the Freedom of Wolverhampton, so unable to attend the stream. Yeah, I was looking forward to bringing that up. Guys, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, smash the notification button, and smash the like button. If you're on TikTok, send me a rose. Apparently that's a thing. It's like Valentine's every day on TikTok. And on here, guys, please don't forget to come join the free Discord. Check out the website. And it's such a brilliant promotion we have with Pepperstone, right? I don't understand why anyone wouldn't want to get involved. On that note, have a lovely rest of your week, guys. Thank you very much for joining me, and see you again soon.